These are 6 tips on how to make your life more self-reliant. And what I've got here is I have all the materials for building a nice snare, especially for small game. And these would be small game. This stuff is really cheap. This probably cost me $30. It's 500 feet of 1/16 cable. 500 feet. That's a lot of snares for $30. These are the aluminum swages for the cable. You need one that will allow you to make a loop. This one, so you can put 2. You can predict the end of the cable, and I'll do a video on this later on, and how to make a snare. But you need the aluminum swages for the cable, and you also need a stop button to be able to produce a snare. The other thing, this is trapping wire. You could probably do a lot of snares out of this. This cost about $6. I forget how many feet are here, 250 feet, 300 feet, or something like that. So for $6, you've got a heck of a lot of trapping wire right there. And then the other piece that you need to be able to produce a snare is you need this lock, this cable lock. It has a hole in the bottom. You can see it's shaped like an L. Maybe you can. It's shaped like an L. It has a hole in the bottom and a hole in the top. And like I said, we will build a snare so that you can see how this works. Now, you can make these just about out of anything. All this is a light piece of steel. Obviously, the thicker the steel, the stronger it'll be, so you can up your cable size for bigger animals. This would be perfect for rabbits. This will be perfect for raccoons. This would be perfect for anything in the small animal part. But I bought these online, $3.50 for a dozen. And I bought 5 dozen of them because they were that cheap, so I wanted to put them on the shelf. But that's all the parts that you need to be able to produce a snare. So, and down the road but that's a big, I said down the road we'll take the time and we will build a snare so I can show you. But I want you to know one thing. Make sure to check the laws in your state on whether snares are legal. Some states they are. Here in Maine, they are illegal to use as a snare. I mean, as a catch device to catch animals. But all this is about being self-reliant, survival situation, any of that kind of stuff. That's what my channel is about, so that's why I'm sharing this. Is if you found yourself in a survival situation, you really need to eat, so that's pretty important. So I have covered the snares, so now I'm going to move on. We already covered the other point. My other point, I already covered it. I kind of got ahead of myself. My other point was having a dozen of these at your cabin, having a dozen traps at the cabin, having a dozen snares at your cabin. That's a great way to be self-reliant. And even at home, you don't need a cabin. You could be living in the city and have a few traps for trapping raccoons. Lots of raccoons around the city, and there's a lot of meals in a raccoon. I know a lot of people are going to say, oh my God, eating raccoon. Well, go in, get your raccoon, clean him, look at the liver. If the liver looks clean, no white spots, no nothing. If you ever open an animal up and the liver's covered in white spots, my recommendation is not to eat it. That is an animal that is not healthy. So whenever you got an animal, check out the liver, check out the lung, check out the heart, check out the internal organs. Make sure there's nothing in there that's not supposed to be there. And if you find something that's not supposed to be there, don't eat it. It's that simple. The same thing with raccoons. Go in, check the liver, check the animal. You know, look him over before you know, if he looks sick, then he probably was sick. So don't eat anything out of the woods. It's just like in the grocery store. Now, they're not supposed to feed you a sick cow. Now, we don't know if they are or not, but they're not supposed to. But anyways, that's just a little free tip there for you. Now, I think I'm on tip number 4. But I'm not sure, so if you want to go back and count them, You can go back and count them. But one of the other things that I'm doing here, and it's all revolving around this trapping and being self-reliant and everything else, I want this video to be about being self-reliant without spending money. You don't have to spend a lot of money. And now, granted, it does help once you get established a little bit, and that comes from making short-term goals. Don't make long-term goals. I hear all the time, I want a cabin, I want a cabin. I hear that in my comments. And I love it that you guys want a cabin. I love that because I know what you can do with a cabin. And you don't need 1,000 acres or you don't need 100 acres to be able to reap the reward of owning a small cabin. But set small goals to reaching that. I did not arrive at 60 years old with this network in place. This has been an ongoing process from when I was 13 years old. Probably before that, because I remember buying my first gun when I was about 8 or 9. And maybe I was 10, but I don't remember exactly. I just remember how proud I was that I owned that gun. And it was a single shot 22 rifle. But you set short-term goals. You don't arrive at a turnkey cabin overnight. Unless you've got a lot of money. If you got a lot of money, then of course you can go buy whatever you want to. But most people wanting the cabin dream have to work towards it. I work towards it. If you want it, you'll have to work towards it. But set short-term goals. First goal I would put on my list is starting to learn some skills. Because you're not going to own a cabin without having some skills to maintain it. But those will be videos on their own too. But that's all I want to point out is just make some short-term goals. And then right on the flip side, make some long-term goals. Short-term goal, learn some skills, buy a rifle, get a few traps, put them in your closet, learn how to make some snares, short-term goals. Learn your different animals in the woods, learn what you can eat, learn how to cook it. These are nice short-term goals that are easy to start figuring out. Long-term goals, I want to own a piece of property. I want a cabin. I want a small cabin. I want a big cabin. I like small cabins. Easy to heat, easy to take care of, easy to maintain. Hardly no money changes hands. Those are long-term goals. I think this is tip number 5. It doesn't help when you put down 6 tips and go out of line with them. So, anyways, I've got a couple of things that I've been working on here for about a month because I know what I need and just kind of working towards it. One thing I need to do with this trap line to be self-reliant in my trap line, just like self-reliant and everything else, is I need to be able to produce wax dirt. Wax dirt, you need good dry dirt, you need flake wax, you need some kind of mixer, you need some kind of heat source. Combine all 4, you end up with wax dirt. That's a video by itself. We will be doing it soon. But 2 items that I needed for the wax dirt. One was I needed a cement mixer. 2, I needed a heater. A heat source to be able to melt the wax. 4, I needed the dirt, and now I need the wax. Believe it or not, I'm having trouble finding the wax. We're scouring the internet. We got some in the other day, wrong kind. But granted, I could go with Trapper's wax, but I really don't want to because of the cost. The cement mixer that the mixer I'm going to use is a cement mixer. Now, why am I bringing this up? This cement mixer has been in my family for more years than I can account for. It was my grandfather's cement mixer. I've had it for about 20 years, maybe 25 years. I went down back 2 weeks ago. I hauled it out of the, I don't want to say junk pile because it wasn't in a junk pile, but it was just down back. I brought it up here. Of course it needed WD-40. Of course it needed a little bit of work to get the tub to spin because I haven't used it probably in 15 years. So anyways, make a long story short, I WD-40'd everything. I got the tub to spin, and now it's time for a motor. An electric motor will be more than enough. Electric motor is all I ever use for, and I put literally tons of cement through that cement mixer while I was working on cabins. So what I'm going to do, I'm planning on doing it this weekend. I'm going to have the grandsons over here. I've got an electric motor. Again, the electric motor. If you're tearing a pipe, if you see a wash machine on the side of the road, free, take the motor. There's nothing wrong with the motors 99% of the time. I probably got a half a dozen motors on the shelf down in my basement. If I need an electric motor, it's right there. Most of the time there's already a cord on it and the whole 9 yards. If not, very easy to wire a cord on and you've got yourself a motor. A lot of times the pulley will be there. If not, you can go to the hardware store, buy any number of pulleys. Smaller the pulley, faster it'll go. You want to slow it down, put on a bigger pulley. That's gear ratio. That's how that all works. So I've got a motor for the cement mixer, but I want to teach my grandsons. So I've set everything up so that they can come over, they can build the base plate for the electric motor. I've got all the nuts and bolts, I've got the drive belt. I want them to install the electric motor on the cement mixer. I want them to be able to know with their hands, they can take a cement mixer that's not working and they can get it to work by installing this electric motor on it. So I think it's a great teaching moment for them, as well as it will be a great add-on to my trap line, because this cement mixer will be back up and running and I'll be able to mix my waxed dirt in there. I need a cup of coffee. Now we're going to move on to the heat system. Now I do have a propane burner that I'm going to mount on that cement mixer down the road. I can't right now because some of the parts I need are up at the Rustic log cabin and I won't be back there for a few more days. But a month ago I was driving down the road and there was a 350,000 BTU space heater on the side of the road for free. I couldn't stop fast enough. Those things sell for about, we priced it out for $379 and we couldn't find the one that I picked up for free because it's a multi-fuel space heater. I've only ever seen them that burn kerosene. This one will burn kerosene, it'll burn number 2 heating oil, and it will burn diesel. So it'll take 3 different fuel sources. And it's full of kerosene right now, or whatever it's got in it, it's full. I had all I could do to lift it in the truck. Now being a contractor and being a builder, I've had these space heaters around, and living in Maine, I've had these space heaters in my life for many years. There's not much that make them up. An on-off switch, a spark plug to light it, and an electric fan. If you ever see them, usually 9 times out of 10 what is wrong with them is the electric fan, because the space heater sets so many months out of the year. What happens is that it's a little tiny electric motor that runs this little tiny fan that forces air through the space heater and out the other end. That's what gives you all your, it's blowing on that fire. The one I've been using for years, I've had to light it with a blowtorch because everything was busted on it. But anyways, make a long story short, I found that space heater. What I did with it was brought it home, didn't have time to work on it. A couple weeks ago I got time to work on it. I pulled it out of the shop. I took the top off it, plugged it in first, and it didn't work. But when I took the top off it, the little fan wouldn't turn at all. Which that's what I thought it would be. It's either that or it's going to be the spark plug that lights it. One of the two. But you can always light it with a torch if the spark plug doesn't work. So I could figure it out that way. But the fan motor wouldn't turn. 2 squirts of the WD-40. Worked the fan a little bit. Then got it so it would turn really free. Plugged it in. It runs like a top. we priced, like I said, we priced it out online. It was $379 to buy that space heater. I've added that space heater to my self-reliant life for the cost of 2 squirts of WD-40. Those are the kind of things that country boys do. We have been doing this stuff since we were kids. You find someone's piece of junk and you get it to work. 9 times out of 10, you can make it work. That 1949 tractor out there, I would doubt very much that I cannot make that thing go. And then I will be adding a great piece of equipment to my trap line as well as to my cabin life. I don't have a dime in the space heater. I don't have a dime in the cement mixer. And I've got nothing in the 1949 Cub Farmall. So let's see if we can get that thing to go. And like I said earlier, this is 6 tips to help make you more self-reliant in the days to come. So I will see you next week, and you have a great day.